I'm pro-choice. Guess what? 4 choices. I just don't support the 5th. Abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. Murder's just not on the ticket. That's all. Roe v. Wade here. We're going to talk about abortion. And this right now, the Supreme Court case that's going on, they're hearing and people are concerned that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned, that women are going to lose all their rights, that it's going to be Handmaid's Tale. And leftists on, I guess, mainstream media outlets, so when we say in the loosest sense of the word, no one watches them. Yeah. They're mainstream if you mean someone stuck in a layover in Charleston.
Pretty much.
At an airport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then the viewership is, the Nielsen rating is off the charts. But let's look at some of the reactions.
I would note that the president believes, since you gave me the opportunity, that the Mississippi law blatantly violates women's constitutional rights to safe and legal abortions. This case presents a grave threat to women's fundamental rights.
Extreme Republicans have attacked abortion rights from every angle, and they are continuing their nonstop efforts to build a country where patients are forced to remain pregnant and carry their pregnancies to term against their will.
We have to pass the EACH Act and repeal HIDE, ensuring that everyone has access to health care.
Yul Brynner's not supposed to wear the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Which is health care, which is
somebody
a
rub a
constitutional
lamp?
right. And we need to abolish the filibuster.
One has a wig, one's
and I'll add,
bald.
we need to expand the courts. Now, that's a conversation for another day.
It's Shazam.
You just saw the reaction from the left on abortion. And something else, too, I wanted to, if you can bring this up here, Tokenawan, is Trevor Noah also had some commentary.
He's still a thing?
On abortion, apparently.
It's the weirdest looking set now.
He is bizarre. He's trying to do circa 2009 YouTube videos, but doing it in a professional studio. The media just doesn't know how to catch up. They know about as much as it relates to catching up in the new media landscape as they do about abortion and Roe v. Wade and why it's bad law. But let's watch Trevor Noah for a bit, and I'll just tell you when to pause it, Tokenawan. Here are his comments.
Conservative movement is just that dedicated to protecting life. I mean, not protecting life from coronavirus or school shootings or from a lack of health care or climate change or poverty or homelessness. And I know...
Pause it. Okay, this is something you hear a lot from the left. Let me ask you this. What would be the difference? I'm trying to even go through all of the examples between that and abortion. Because the left is, there's a complete lack of self-awareness, and sometimes people get tripped up on this. I don't want you to get tripped up. He said coronavirus. Okay, there are a couple things that are very different. First off, coronavirus, the vaccine that you would take for yourself, does not involve somebody else's body. Also, if you get vaccinated, it might have an effect on somebody else. A lot of the other issues fall under the umbrella of taxation when you're really talking about schools, when you're talking about healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't involve, for me, my own healthcare decisions as it relates to getting a flu shot, as it relates to getting surgery, as it relates to my HSA, my relationship with my doctor. I am not affecting somebody else. And by the way, if the government paid for all healthcare, well, empirically we know that it wouldn't, but their argument is it might make other people more safe. Climate change, okay? Climate change, me driving a car, myself, picking my own car, picking the fuel for my car, picking how my house is heated, does not affect somebody else. Now, you may want to argue that if climate change is a thing and it's man-made and the Green New Deal were followed to a T, it might help other. With abortion, it's very clear that it's not my body. If I'm a woman, you're a woman, you have a baby in you, do you have 20 fingers? Do you have 20 toes? If it's a boy, do you have a penis? Do you have 2 brains? Do you have 2 hearts? And by the way, it's not it might, without any doubt, you will destroy the life of one that is not your own. That's a very notable difference. It's silly, but it stems from the issue that the left does not understand liberty. Let's go on to the next arguments that Trevor Noah makes. They're not really worth addressing, but it's so common that the left it must be nice to just be able to destroy straw men. Let's watch it.
No, I know there are guys out there right now who are saying, well, you know what, tough luck, ladies, but this doesn't affect me. Well, first of all, you're going to see it affect your bank account when you're paying child support for 18 years. And secondly, you guys clearly don't see what's happening here. Yeah, because first they said a baby is only a baby when it comes out of the vagina.
Never said
Then
it.
they said
Nope.
it's a baby when it's viable outside of the womb, right? Now you've got people arguing that if there's any electrical signal, it counts as a heartbeat. You realize what's coming up next, right?
Even though it's a heart.
At some point, they're going to be like, okay, we decided that sperm is babies.
All right.
So
okay.
you can't.
So first off,
What?
no conservative ever said only when it's out of the vagina. That's
field
you.
of straw men.
Yeah, that's how you support abortion up to and including 9 months. This happens in states where the left has complete control of the legislature. Just to be clear, and don't you love how the left, when they're framing abortion, they always address the blessing, the gift of being with child as nothing more than a burden? Doesn't affect me. Well, she's going to be, and these are words too that they use, force, right? You're going to force a woman to carry a child. It's important. We're going to do a whole segment on these definitions. Force, pro-choice. Okay, force? No, I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. Is she going to have to give birth? Yeah. So you're no, I'm not. I'm simply not forbidding her from ending another life. You want to force mandatory vaccines. You want to force mandatory carbon taxes. You want to. Do you see the difference? Do you understand the meaning of the word force? I'm pro-choice. No, hold on a second. I'm pro-choice. Guess what? 4 choices. I just don't support the 5th. Abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. Murder's just not on the ticket. That's all. You want an extra one. And by the way, the left, he says this is how conservatives defined a baby, right? This is how okay, hold on a second. None of those are true. I will tell you how I define a life. It's at fertilization because new DNA is created separate from the mother and the father. Let's just set this up before we get to the law, okay? Here's the issue. Trevor Noah, and Nancy Pelosi, what do you define as a life? What do you define as a baby? Don't get tripped up by this bullshit. When is it a baby? Mm-hmm. They can't determine it. What is it, viability? Because that's changed. Preemies are being born earlier and earlier due to different technology. By the way, a baby who is premature at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York has a higher survival rate with all of the newest technology and medical treatments available to a baby born in the hills of West Virginia. Is one a life and one is not? Hey, look, you want to say that conservatives defined a life whatever XYZ way. How do you define a life? They never do. They can't defend their argument with anything other than abortion all the way up until and including birth. That's why the platform has signed on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things too, just because we said, okay, look, you guys, you're crazy, but can't we all just agree that if a baby can survive outside of the womb, that's a life? We weren't saying that was the line. We're saying that is the least that we can all agree on and understand is absolutely a life, right? Right? It can survive without the mom. Can't we all? No, you can't agree.
No.
That's where we were drawing the line because we thought that was the most reasonable possible thing that we could say.
It is the most reasonable thing.
Didn't get accepted.
Well, they always try and trip you up too. They go, what about rape and incest? Look, don't get caught on I'm amazed when politicians do. Just do this. Okay, let's say we allow abortions for rape and incest. Would you be okay now banning the 99 point whatever other percent of abortions?
Yeah.
Well, no, then don't bring it up. You're a liar.
It doesn't even matter. It's a lazy argument.
So the
What do we do with the royal family?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. That usually
Retroactive?
that'll sort itself out
Fair.
a few branches down the line.
True.
And by branches, I mean stump.
Yes.
So
Count the rings.
yesterday, the Supreme Court, they began hearing the case of Dobbs versus Jackson, okay? This is from a women's health organization. Now, the dispute is a Mississippi ban on abortion after 15 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. This case is likely going to determine whether all sort of pre-viability prohibitions on elective abortions are actually unconstitutional. So that isn't necessarily the point as to why Roe v. Wade should be overturned. And by the way, just to be clear, overturning Roe v. Wade would not ban abortion.
Nope.
It would just allow the states to determine abortion laws. If you want to get an abortion, go to New York, go to New Jersey, go to Cal. I'm sure you're not going to have a problem. Just to be clear. There is one group that is trying to be totalitarian. There is one group who is trying to give undue power to the federal government. Just to be clear, would not ban abortion. Okay, let's go to the history of Roe v. Wade. A lot of people don't know. I bet you probably all think, probably not Gerald, but a lot of you watching, you probably thought Roe v. Wade was about the right to abortion. You probably thought it was about the right to, women's health, pink tax and shit. Did you know it's not? It's the same reason that RBG, your saint, St. Nicholas, you have RBG. Yeah. Let's make her a black chick. Have her played by Joy Reid in the biopic.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that RBG said this is bad law. It has nothing to do with abortion. Roe v. Wade was determined on an interpretive right of the right to privacy, predicated on the 14th Amendment. So let me give you some history, too. There was an activist, Judy Smith, was looking for a case to legalize abortion in Texas. Was looking for a case, just to be clear. And very much like the gay couples were looking for a bakery to try and prosecute. They went to and fro. Was it the bakery or the pizza shop? Probably both.
I think it was the bakery.
Smith needed a lawyer who would take the case for free. Found this person, Sarah Weddington. The first couple that they tried to pick didn't have any standing because they didn't actually want an abortion.
Yeah.
They needed a case. They were seeking out
already had
a case. Yeah. So they found this pregnant woman, Norma McCorvey, who, by the way, never had an abortion. Just to be clear. Never had an abortion. It's based on this privacy law that was, what was the name of the case in Connecticut?
Griswold
versus Connecticut.
Yeah.
And that's about due process clause and privacy under the 14th Amendment. So Roe v. Wade was women have a right to privacy as far as the privacy of their relationship with their physician, which is, that's very important now because it's been rendered irrelevant,
of
right?
course.
HIPAA, all that because of mandatory vaccines and vaccine passports and cards, right? Where's my privacy law? I shouldn't have to show it. You do just if you want to do anything like eat, sleep, drink, or get on a plane in New York.
Or, work out or live, able to actually survive.
So anyway, based on these arbitrary timelines, let me read you what the court ruled. During the first trimester, the decision to terminate the pregnancy was solely at the discretion of the woman. After the first trimester, the state could regulate the procedure. During the second trimester, the state could regulate but not outlaw abortions in the interests of the mother's health. After the second trimester, the fetus became viable. The state could regulate or outlaw abortions in the interest of potential life. Okay, look, here's the deal. It went way too far. They were looking for a law to try and make abortion completely legal in Texas and remove all restrictions. Okay, so it went to a federal level, and the push was effectively removing the rights, the autonomy of the states to have their own restrictions on abortion.
Yeah.
Now, this went really far. This is why Roe v. Wade needs to be undone, because it is an infringement upon the rights of the states. But here's the thing. It's not just me who thinks Roe v. Wade went too far. Take a look. It's in a book. You don't have to take my word for it.
What I said was the court had an easy target because the Texas law was the most extreme in the nation. Abortion could be had only if necessary to save the woman's life. Doesn't matter that her health would be ruined, that she was the victim of rape or incest. I thought Roe v. Wade was an easy case, and the Supreme Court could have held that most extreme law unconstitutional and put down its pen. Instead, the court wrote an opinion that made every abortion restriction in the country illegal in one fell swoop. And that was not the way that the court ordinarily operates.
Now, just to be clear, people got mad that I posted some quotes from RBG yesterday on social media that say you're removing context. Actually, I'm not. Of course she was pro-abortion. Evil women like that are. But sorry, don't speak ill of demons.
That's who she's hanging out with.
But she was saying, I'm pro-abortion. This is bad law. It goes too far. So in context, yes, she had a problem with Roe v. Wade for the same reasons that I have a problem with Roe v. Wade, for the same reasons that conservatives have a problem with Roe v. Wade. You can have a problem with Roe v. Wade and still be pro-abortion to some degree. You can have a problem with Roe v. Wade and believe that life begins at fertilization. This is the thing. There should be some common ground here if you care about the law and something, your rights, healthcare. Let me read you another quote from RBG. She said, Roe isn't really about women's choice, is it? It's about the doctor's freedom to practice. It wasn't woman-centered. It was physician-centered. Now, here's something else that you may not know. Roe v. Wade is actually not the law of the land as it relates to abortion. There's been a Supreme Court case since then.
No,
yeah,
you would never know that from the media.
Order, I don't know exactly. It is Casey versus Planned Parenthood. This supersedes Roe. Why? instead of referencing trimesters, this, and by the way, all references are available at loudercrowder.com, it prohibits pro-life legislation before viability. So we've gotten out of the trimester framework. Why? Because it's a losing argument as technology improves. So states can only begin to regulate abortion after the fetus has the potential to survive outside of the womb. It's already rendered Roe v. Wade irrelevant, just to be clear.
Right. A
lot of people don't know this. They think if Roe v. Wade is overturned, people are going to be storming into your houses and arresting you. Here's something else that I sort of, I do have a question. Well, let me read you some, I don't need to do it. The first premature baby was born at 21 weeks, just to be clear. Okay?
The earliest that we've seen so far.
The earliest that we've seen so far, just to be clear. And this is after legislation was created. So in other words, legislation was created. Say viability, and viability was later than it was after, and they went, ooh, shit. Because it keeps getting moved up. Here's my question, though. I don't know, and if you're a lawyer, and I'll talk with my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, after this. I don't know of any other law that exists this way where it says, okay, you cannot, right, Casey versus Planned Parenthood. The law states you cannot regulate abortion at all pre-viability, right? So they're creating a line saying you can't because pre-viability, right, that's not a life. Okay, what about post-viability? If you're saying that pre-viability is inconsequential, there's really nothing determined as far as when the baby is viable, because they don't want, it's a touchy subject, because you don't want to say, well, yes, it's a viable baby that could live outside of the womb, and by the way, we're going to abort it anyway. Ralph Northam had to deal with those consequences along with being Mr. Blackface. Here's the issue. If you go into a store, you're a law-abiding citizen, we say, that's fine. The line is when you commit a crime, commit theft, you're now a criminal. There's a consequence. If you are simply walking down your street, fine. You are a law-abiding citizen. You kill someone, there is now a consequence. There's a line. Now you are a murderer. I don't know any other case that says we're creating a line. What is it? Viability. Great. So there are consequences pre-viability. Right, Supreme Court? Yes. What are the consequences post-viability?
Exactly.
None?
Yeah.
Nothing, because apparently you're ending a life right now. Wouldn't that be murder? If you're ending a viable life, if we've drawn the line, wherever they choose to draw that line, we've drawn it. Now you're ending a life. And they're pissed off at the Texas bill because you could be fined $10,000.
Right.
Every murderer in prison right now is saying, where do I send the check? Let me out.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, fine. 10 grand. Okay, fine. That guy had it coming.
And to be clear, no one is suggesting arresting women who've had abortions performed.
No. Not at all.
The many Kevorkians who perform the abortion, yes. Like frickin' clones of death doctors.
Yeah, the Gosnells.
I just don't know. This is one of those conversations where, you've heard me talk about this. There's accountability only on one side of the ledger. And the accountability is only with conservatives. They're the ones who say, look, okay, this is how we define a life. This is where we are willing to concede. This is where we think the states have the rights. This is where we think that the federal government is infringing upon the autonomy of the states. Okay? Now, what do you think about, I don't know. It's like Jesse Ventura all of a sudden going, I don't have the answers. I'm just asking questions. When do you think life begins? Genuine question. People say, my body, my choice. Do you have 10? You have an extra 10 fingers? You have 20 fingers? You have 20 toes? Do you have a penis? Do you have 2 brains? Do you have 2 hearts? When do you think life begins? Because you've determined it's not a life. Pre-viability. But then no answers for after it, whereas conservatives have to have an answer for all of it, including the 0.05% of abortions that are extreme examples.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.